Okay, it's right.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Then the urban green space research based on the remote sensing data often use the green space and the per capita green space to characterize the urban greening. However, the satellite or hide the image can lose part of the street greenness information. And I have introduced the street view images, and it can provide a human perspective, the scene, and human contacting, and which can truly reflect the greening situation on both sides of the street. So, how to evaluate or assess the urban green space? The different people have the different idea and have the different way. Here, I just introduce some things from our own aspect. Perhaps you can broaden it and just like it. And I sum up the existing problems in the past research. And first, aiming at the problems that the research only focused on the vegetation and has a single object. We based on the GF number 2 satellite images to use the landscape pattern indicators to study the environmental factors such as the urban vegetation, buildings, and the water bodies. And just to show you that to use the landscape ecology knowledge or technique to evaluate the urban green space. And the second, for the model remote sensing, it's difficult to analyze the greenness status of the street level. So we use the Google Street View. Now we use the Chinese Baidu panoramic images, a set of the automatic features information retrieving technique precise, and we put forward some index also to evaluate the greenness of the street. And the second, to aiming at the problems of the insufficient perspective in the previous research. So we first, from the perspective of the street walkers, and integrated the different remote sensing satellite data and street view data to create index to evaluate the urban green space. Okay. The first, we from the overlook from the space, use the remote sensing satellite data to evaluate the urban green space landscape pattern. And then we from the side view use the street view data to urban street greenness evaluation. And then the urban green space evaluation comprehensive combine the satellite data and the street view data. That is from the overlook, side view, and combine them, just like it. First, we say if we have different vegetable and ingredients, we conclude the different dishes. If we have only the satellite optical remote sensing data, how can we evaluate? If we have the LiDAR, how can we conduct the evaluation? If we have the street view, what then? And if we have them together, then what happened? I will introduce from these several parts. I just give you the framework introduction. and to let you know how to make use of the data and to conduct the urban green space evaluation from the different perspective, from the different angle. Okay, first, the evaluation of urban green space based on the optical remote sensing data. First, the functional area scale evaluation based on the landscape in-depth method. And then I will introduce the second method, generally, the evaluation of the green space landscape pattern based on the neural network. This is the first part, use the landscape in-depth method. Okay, I have mentioned that we try to combine interdiscipline of the remote sensing of the urban green space and the ecology. Here is the landscape ecology and the planning together. And here, based on the previous systematic research on the landscape matrix, and 11 landscape matrix was selected to mirror the green space landscape pattern of the study area and the typical function area at the class level and the landscape level. And this is the landscape matrix at the class level. For example, the percentage of the landscape, the patch density, the mean patch size, average density, the fret, the total dimension, the aggregation index, this is the abbreviation. And the plan of the 5 kind of the vegetation in urban green center is higher. You see, this is from the left to the right. This is the broadleaf trees, conifers, the farmland, the grassland, the shrubs. I have introduced just now in the 2-dimension urban green space vegetation. We based on the retrieved result, we conduct this part of the work. And this is the different areas, the urban green center, the residential, the government office area, the commercial, the education area, and compare them. You see from the 5 kinds of the vegetation, okay. And in the urban areas, green center is higher in the overall level of the study area, and the green space landscape of the residential area here, and the government area and the commercial area is lower than the overall level, and the commercial area is the most light of the green space. Okay, yeah, and shrub is this is dominant vegetation type in the study area. The conifer are the least, the different kind of the vegetation species, and followed by the farmland. Okay, this yellow and so on. The residential, commercial, the government. You can know what kind of the characteristics, and this is also the like it, the urban green center, the residential, and the something like it. Okay, this is the different kind of the urban green space, and to compare the patch density and the area, and the ED can indicate the degree of the landscape fragmentation, and this is the PD and the ED of the shrubs are the last. Okay, the shrubs the last, and the area is the smallest, which indicate that the highest fragment degree. and the broad-leaved trees and the farmland. What about is here is the smallest, and indicating that the distribution is relatively concentrated. This is due to the fact that the broad-leaved trees was mostly used in the roadside trees, and the windbreak forest and shrubs are often used to build small landscape, and shrubs are also easy to grow on the undistributed land, forming the small and disordered patches. Example to show you in if you study an area, and from what way we can analyze this, okay? And then by comparing the function area, it's found that although the vegetation coverage of the urban green center is highest, the PD, the pH density of all kinds of the vegetation is smallest, okay? And okay, so this is the PD, okay, this, okay. And the area, this is the largest except the shrub, here, yeah, shrub. And the PD and the area of the residential, okay, and the commercial are the smallest. We show that the green space patches of the residential and commercial area are the most fragmented, followed by the government office area, and the vegetation distribution of the urban green center is consistent. And this is also the flag is used to describe the complexity of the patch boundary shape, and this is the analyze the different kind of the broadleaves, conifer, farmland, grassland, shrubs, and what's about the FRAC, FRAC, and what's the and this is AI index, and which is used to describe the aggregation degree of the patches. Its value range from the 0 to 1, and the highest of the value, the higher the aggregation degree of the same type of the pixels in the landscape. And the grassland here, yeah, this color, and the farmland yellow color, okay, has the highest aggregation index, which indicates that the distribution is relatively concentrated, and most of them are distributed in large area without the building. And while the conifers, and the second, conifers, okay, has the lowest AI, you see, AI, because of its scattered distribution here and there, not close, okay. And this is a landscape matrix as a landscape level, which is unlike, yeah. And this is a statistic of the different function zones, function area. Then we can compare it. For example, this parameter, the urban green center, is larger than this residential area, than the government office, than the commercial area, and the highest planned and the lowest of the urban green center, indicating that the green space fragmentation is the lowest. Okay, residential and commercial area comparison, and the government office is a new planning area now in the Tongzhou district, in the research area. And the newly built office buildings are intensively distributed, and the vegetation distribution is more concentrated. and the value of AI is high. You see, I just give you an example to introduce it. Then we can draw the conclusion. The measurement results of the green space landscape pattern at functional area scale based on the landscape matrix show that in each functional area, thrust is the dominant landscape type, but the fragmentation degree is the highest, the conifer are the least, whose pear shape is the most complex, broad, leaved trees, the grassland, the farmland are concentrated, contiguous and regular distribution. The result shows that the urban greener center has a high vegetation coverage, high patch density, and low fragmentation. And whereas the commercial area has a low vegetation coverage, low patch density, and they can know the areas characteristics of the research area. You can study in your area of interest, just like it, use the term of man. Then we introduce briefly of the evaluation of the green space landscape pattern based on the neural network. This is we use the Sanya city, which is the south city in China. And because it with the goal of forming a high quality space environment of the city in the forest, living in the green, and the people in the scenery. And in the past 2 years, to strengthen the ecological restoration and the construction of a green space network in the old city. Now it's in the series the COVID situation, and we study also the Guangzhou, and we use also the GF number 2, the resolution I have introduced to you, and we use the Baidu panoramic images. Okay, Baidu, the Internet Corporation, and the API service interface, and FOV, like it. And we try to get the downloading the street view data in the study area and obtain and process the road network data through the OpenStreetMap web, and extract the sample points and selecting the picture size, the latitude, the longitude, coordinates, horizontal viewing angle, and the horizontal direction angle, and so on, and the like it. This is the map you see. And we use the BP neural network algorithm, and this is the procedures, and use the algorithm structure and parameters. This is the training error, and so on. Yes, and we get the classification results. I think you can use the other classification techniques. We get the somehow the compare the accuracy. When you conduct the other studies, you must conduct such things, and then we select the urban green space landscape matrix based on the past studies, and analyze of the urban green space patch composition, the 4 indicators, and analyze on the composition patterns of the urban green space, the 10 indicators, the like it, the different indicator parameters, and the urban green space environment, the landscape, 2 indicators, yeah, don't like it. The different kind, the analysis type, and the quantity, the shape index, the landscape space pattern index. Then we conduct the later things. Okay, we use the analyze of the green patch composition, use the patch area, the shape index, the area weighted patch fractional dimension, and the Euclidean nearest neighbor index, and we can study it. This is the patch area. You see from the picture, this is the small type of area, green land, and the medium and the large. You see from the type of the green space is mainly the medium size is and about counting for about almost 80% distributed in the surrounding area of the city center, and the area of the green patch in the east is this number, and the area you can okay. And this is the shape index. We can also to see that the shape of the urban green space in the Sanya is diversity, and the proportion of the each section are not much different. And also the area weighted this parameter. The statistics results show that considering the patch area and the shape of the green patches in the entire Sanya city tends to be regular, and the overall urban green space planning effect of the Sanya city is always, and the green space is subject to the strong human interfaces. And this is ENN, and the distribution of the urban green patches in the Sanya is highly concentrated. And although the overall green space in Sanya city have been subject to strong human interference, and the distance between the green space patches isn't far apart, and the concentration is high. Also, we use the quantitatively TT index, the proportion, okay, of the area occupied by the vegetation is the largest. Yes, vegetation. And the vegetation patch, okay, with the largest area is almost the largest of the three tabs, okay. And this is the flag. And among the three tabs, the geometric shape of the building are the most complex, okay, building, and indicating that the urban building planning still need further improve, and the spatial pattern, the split, okay, parameter. This, okay, the water body has a highest degree, and by the degree of the fragmentation of the water body patches is the lowest, okay. And this is the PD, patch density, and the urban landscape is generally fragmented, except for several large areas in Sanya. The patch area in city is generally small, and the surrounding diversity index and diversity and the heterogeneity of the urban greenness is poor, and urban green space landscape types are not complete. Yeah, you can see from it. And this is, I show you with optical remote sensing, we can conduct such work. Then how can we conduct with the evaluation of the urban green space based on the LiDAR data? Yeah, and we try to implement apply the moving window method to analyze the spatial distribution characteristics of the urban buildings and urban space, establish a remote sensing evaluation method and the urban green environmental quality based on the moving window and to achieve a rapid statistic investigation of the urban green environment. Yeah, this is we use the LiDAR and multi-spectral remote sensing images, and we develop the urban green environment evaluation method. And first, we measure the urban green space environment factors. Then we evaluate each factors. Then we can develop the comprehensive evaluation of the urban green environment quality by the remote sensing. This is the evaluation method. We compare with the grid method, the moving window, the buffer method. Then we develop the evaluation factor. For example, the two-dimension vegetation information and the two-dimension buildings information, also the height information. I have introduced in the first part. And use the moving window, we get the vegetation coverage index and the aggregation index, the buildings parameters, and we conduct and weighting, and we get the building green environment index, BGEI, just like it. Okay, this is the application of the factor of the moving window method. We combined with the other method and use the moving method, okay, to study the UGI, and we compare with the them and get the result. And this is vegetation coverage, okay, the coverage in the study area, vegetation coverage after buildings mask, okay. And I have introduced to you the two-dimension vegetation parameters retrieving, and this is the vegetation aggregation, and this is the urban vegetation types distribution, the trees, the bush, the grass, and so on. And this is the vegetation aggregation, the aggregation of the vegetation index map, and the buildings coverage, okay, the buildings coverage index map, and the buildings coverage index map after the buildings mask, okay. Okay, we can also calculate the BCI, which is the buildings IG, result to the windows area. This is the buildings aggregation index map after the buildings mask. We get the BAI, which is the like it, buildings aggregation index. And then we develop the evaluation standard, okay, from the different level, okay, vegetation aggregate, okay, this is the standard, okay. So this means the low, general, relative high vegetation coverage index, yeah, just like it. And we develop it. Then we also the buildings coverage, the different standard, okay, buildings coverage index, aggregation index, the different level. And then we can get the single factors, parameters evaluation result. This is the BCI, VAI, BCI, BAI, the classification map. And then we get each patterns information, the urban vegetation and urban buildings. We combine the vegetation coverage index, okay, building coverage index, and the vegetation aggregation index, buildings aggregation index. We get the BGEI, which is the building green environment index, which refers to the distribution characteristics of the urban vegetation and buildings in a two-dimensional plane and a three-dimensional space in a certain area around the building. Then we try to make a good use of the LiDAR to use the height and the aggregation index. Then we get the building's green environment index distribution map, and we get it, the equation. Okay, then we can analyze the evaluation results in the different function area, the residential area, commercial and the leisure area, the culture area, and we compare with the urban green space and with the developer the PGEI, and we get the compare with the different area. Then we can get to know what the characteristics of the different part, okay, area in the east function area, okay, and which one part is good, which area is poor, just like it. Okay, I introduced when we have the LiDAR data, how to evaluate the urban green space. Then we use the street view to develop the evaluation. How to make good use of the street view map images. And we based on the Baidu images, the street environment elements were extracted, and the urban street greenness index is developed to evaluate the urban street greenness environment. This is the the street extraction of the vegetation in the remote sensing mainly rely on the high reflection in the near infrared band and high absorption rate in the wide band. However, the street view data is different from the remote sensing data. It's mainly composed of the three bands of the red, green, and blue, and there is no near infrared band. So we through the spectral analysis of the vegetation, the sky and the other elements on the different band of the street view data, a set of the automatic feature information extraction process is proposed. This is the step 1, step 2, and to calculate the brightness of the each pixel, and slide 3, the use the OTSU's method to find the best threshold. I have introduced just now. And step 4, extract the sky pixel from the images, and to extract the vegetation pixels, and define the remaining pixels, and eliminate the influx of the salt and the pepper noise through the repeated filter. And when we get the vegetation sky and our results, yeah, this is some validation. Then we developed a panoramic green view index, PGVI, which is among them, the area is the vegetation area, and the area all is the total area of the panoramic street view images. Then we get it PGVI and analysis, and then to compare with the difference with we develop the PGVI and the old GVI. We sampled some points, and to compare with the difference and with them, and you see to compare the difference between them. This is the FOV and the different hiding and so on. Then we can see from the PGVI that Baidu panoramic photo of the street one were filtered with the trees, shrubs, and grass. This street 2 is the middle section of the some express in the study area. The surrounding street trees are still in the seedling stage, and the green level is the lowest compared with the other two streets. Street 3 is the section of the central district of the city, surrounded by many residential communication, and the green level of street is acceptable. Yes, just like this. And also we use green visual entropy, GVE. First, a single panoramic photo is segmented to obtain the N region with the significant boundary in the photo. And this is the information given. The amount is this. And for the entire panoramic photo composed of the M green area, then the GVE calculated formula equation is like this. And this is compare the three streets. The street 1 is the section of the Sanya city close to the shrubs, and the buildings are mainly low-rise with low vegetation. The street 2, almost the sky occupied most of the images. There is still some more vegetation concentrated. The 3, most of the abundant information about the urban vegetation buildings and the vegetation area. This is the result. And also use the sky openness index is defined as the proportion of all sky seen as the observation point in the corner of the view, and the calculation equation is like this, and this is the result. We can compare with the different streets and get the results, which one is better. And then we combine the three factors, considering their contributions there to the greenness of the urban streets, and assigning the different weight rate ratio to the urban street green index. We get the USGS equation, and just like it, we get the result. This is we use the street view. Then we compare them each other, the comprehensive evaluation. Use the satellite data and the street view data. Then we use the sampling distance of the urban street sample points with the 50 meters apart. And in order to avoid the overlapping of the field of the view between the adjacent sampling points on the same street, the buffer analysis method is used. This is the diameter, radius, a buffer circle. And then the road with the L of the street starting from the road. This is the one with the vehicle lane width and the total road width, the divider stands. Then the two buffer zones are superimposed with the result of the urban ground object classification in the study area to obtain remote sensing landscape evaluation indicator. This is the result you see, and the absolute value of the correlation coefficient among the three street green evaluation factors, vision scope of the site. And also we can also get the other informations from the absolute value of the correlation coefficient among the 4 remote sensing landscape evaluation indicators. Okay. Also comparing the Spearman coefficient. Okay. Among the selected 7 index, the absolute value of all the correlation coefficient doesn't exceed 0.5, indicating that the 7 index are not correlated with each other. Then, okay, we can develop the index the weight and to develop the UGSI's equation. Then we use it to compare the city. The central area of the Sanya city has the lowest value. And starting from the city center, the UGSI shows an increasing trend, okay? And among the north direction. And among the north direction, the UGSI value show a trend of the first decreasing and then increasing and then decreasing. And then among the direction of the east, 2 peak of the UGSI was found. This is here. Okay. Okay. Representing the 2 natural scenery spots of the Jinjiling and Fenghuangling in Sanya. And as the distance increase around northwest, okay, also show a gradually increase. And the south, like it. Okay, so we finished the multi-perspective urban green space. We conducted some spatial configuration. Okay, how to objectively evaluate the distribution pattern and the configuration relation of the urban green space in the process of the urbanization is very important. So just now we use the LiDAR, we retrieve the vertical strategy sampling of the urban space, and we conduct the configuration of the urban green space and the buildings. I think we choose so many things we want to use it. How to use it? Just to light the urban green planning and optimizing. Okay, so we use the quant information. Just now we have retrieved so many things, and then we have developed the vertical strategy defined sampling of the urban green space, which is the series of 2-dimension planes. Yeah, you see from that now I have introduced to you like this, and with the height interval of the different 0.5 meter, and to sample the urban 3-dimension space in the layers, and cutting the planes with the intersect with the tree crown and the building to form the plane slice. And this is the ice. Each refer to the cross-section area of the crown as the height. Then we can get the vegetation area. We can get the buildings, this sect area. Then we can conduct to the vertical feature analysis. And if the dividing the height layer, if the sum of the tree crown cross section area is less than the sum of the buildings cross section area, which is the green deficit layer. If the contrary is a greater sufficient layer, just like it. So we develop such things. The sum of the cross-sectional area of the green space and the building space at all sample height is calculate the commercial, the residential, and the A and the B, okay, the different area, and the vegetation, the buildings, and the vertical distribution curve, okay, of the green space and the buildings are obtained. This is the vegetation. This is the buildings. And the different land means the different areas. Okay, the commercial residential. Show the calculation like it. Then we can retrieve more information. This is the okay. This is the residential area. This is the commercial. This is the green space. The green space curve shows that the parabolic shape of the first increase and the increase caused by the ellipsoid shape of the tree crown, and the green space of the commercial area and the residential is concentrated in the range of the here, and the peak appeared here, about here, The two curves are similar in shape, indicating that the vertical configuration structures of the green space in commercial and the residential area is similar. However, the maximum area of the green space in the residential area is here, higher than this one. This is also the building space characteristics. We analyze it. This is the residential area. To analyze the green deficient or sufficient layer and the green space and the buildings space, we can know where is the deficit, where is the sufficient. This is sufficient, the deficit. And then from the three-dimension green space curve, which is objective description of the vertical distribution of the urban green space. From it, we can know where is the green radiation peak and where is the height of the green radiation peak and where is the green radiation range and where is here is the green space surface in force. And then this UGS, urban green space distribution map, which represents the green radiation space of the different height of the layer, while the three-dimension green space curve highlights the difference in vertical distribution of the urban green space. And the standard fitting curve of the normal distribution simplifies the calculation process to some extent, which can be applied to the comparison and quantify the various index. Then the residential and the commercial area, the green deficient layer is different area, and the sufficient layer and the gradient green radiation balance point here, different way. Then the multi-dimension information display of the green space and the three-dimension configuration curve of the building can evaluate the contact probability of the people and the greenness space and the spatial distribution of the contacting possibility, and which has a very good application prospect in the future planning and evaluation. Yes, this is the result. Then we use several minutes to introduce to you the accessibility of the urban green space. From the retrieval to perceiving to evaluation to planning or configuration, how much we can what's the accessibility of the urban green space is another part. and which also will determine the urban green space equity, fairness, and which is affected by the environment kind of equation. And also in the past, there was a theoretical significance and the practical value, I think. The researcher objective, we want to, based on the remote sensing vegetation information we have retrieved, and to study the in-depth the measurement method of the urban green space landscape pattern based on the factor analysis, and then based on the path distance green space accessibility method model, considering the number of considering the number of the urban green space, the landscape structure, and the growth status is constructed. And here, this morning, I wouldn't like to introduce the equation, but we have conducted some studies on the greenness space equation. And this is then first we measure the urban green space landscape structure based on the factor analysis. I think I have introduced some to you, and construct the urban green space accessibility measurement model. Of course, based on it, can analyze the different it. This is based on the Beijing to analyze it. We use the land site, the road network, and also to measure them. Okay, and this is the researcher content. First, to develop the landscape patterning index, and then we conduct also the studies accessibility and the equity. First, we conduct the landscape structuring of the green space. Okay, and then water indicators should be used to measure the landscape structure of the urban space, and commonly considering and use the indicators, the landscape index, and there are some shortcomings, the redundant. Okay, and it's very important to select a field indicator for measuring the landscape structure of the green space from the complex landscape. And this is the method, the measurement of the landscape structures. Okay, and John Lakity use the spatial stratified sampling method to determine the green spatial unit, and to select a series of the initial landscape index, and to choose them, screen them, and by the statistical test and the correlation analysis, and then conduct the factor analysis. Okay, this is the classification and validation. Okay, this is the validation. And then decide the greenness spatial unit, divide the study area into the grid. Okay, 5 kilometer by 5 kilometer to extract the green space unit by stratified sampling, and the stratified is based on the percentage of the greenness space. Okay, and the layers boundary is determined by the method of the internal equivalent frequency square root, and the spatial rate is determined by the stratified comparison method. Okay, this is the screen, the landscape index, index types, index names, okay, index abbreviation, and then we conduct the statistic test, and we use the jet read of the ENNMN, and use the Spearman correlation coefficient double tail t-test, and then we screen the landscape index, okay, and the 6 index were retained like this, and the construct the landscape structure matrix, okay, is like this, the shape complexity and aggregation factors. Then we construct the things, okay. Then the representative factors of the landscape file from the 16 landscape index. We choose the file index here and the 2 landscape factors here, and to use in the coming studies to study the accessibility measurement model based on the road distance. Then we choose a comprehensive measurement model of the green space based on the path distance, okay, taking into account multiple influencing factors it established. This is using the grid method to divide the accessibility calculation unit and calculate the accessibility range based on the road map network. And then we develop the accessibility model, okay, and to see the distribution characteristics. Okay, this is the procedures. First, we use the solution aiming at the shortcoming of the grid method, which is the calculation of the accessibility range from the geometric center of grid cannot represent the overall accessibility level of the grid. So we use a minimum Euclidean distance accumulation of all other impervious surface pixel in the grid is selected as the starting point. So like this, okay, and we choose the this grid cells, and the grid cells, okay, cannot contain the impervious surface pixels, and the green space accessibility of the grid cell with more than 1 central pixels is calculated and averaged. And the accessibility range, we use ANGST to choose the area among 2 kilometers of the road network starting from the opaque surface pixel in the middle of the grid. Okay, this is just like it from the surface center, and 2 kilometers. Okay, so like this. Then we can compare the urban area, the road. Okay, here this one, and the good accessibility in all the directions, and the accessible range obtained from the A point is usually in the form the A like a diamond. The point A, the summit area. The road is reduced usually only on one side, and the road on the other side is sparse, and the accessible distance is limited. And then we can calculate the accessible area is 2.56 kilometers square. and we can compare the Xicheng district. Dongcheng has the largest accessibility area. The others, yeah. And we use the quantity, greenness, and the growth situation, NDVI, landscape structure, the landscape structure factors, and to use the AHP's method to decide the weight and the rule layer and screen layer, like this, and use the greenness area, the shape complexity index, and the other two to decide the weight, and then we can calculate the accessibility green area in that area from the edge to the city to the center, from the first increase, then decrease, and showing a trend of the low, high, low, and its minimum in the Dongcheng district and Xicheng, and the largest in the Pinggu and Chaoyang, and this is like it. And also the shape complexity of the greenness, also from the low, high, low, and here is the minimum, and the largest in here, and some statistics. And accessibility greenness, okay, degree, okay, decreased, and the minimum in here, largest here, okay, and the gradient accessibility, accessible greenness NDVI decreased, and average NDVI is minimum here, average NDVI is largest in this area, and then we can combine them to get the green space accessibility from the edge to the center. First increase, then increase, increase, then decrease, showing the trend and the different district, okay, sequence. And also the circulation ring, taking Beijing city center as a center of the circle, the radius is increased by the 6 kilometers at a time, and 20 echelon rings are arranged in the total. The multi-direction span, north, south, east, west, northwest, southeast, and northeast, southwest was rectangular quadrant by of the 10 kilometer by 10 kilometer. This is a loop span from the city center outward. The accessibility of the green space go up, down, up, then like this. The maximum is here, okay, and the all direction reach minimum accessibility in the center of the city center, and the curve of the green space accessibility in the 4 direction. You see from the this range shaped like a V. This is from 2 to 6 ring. The green space accessibility increased monotonically, and the green space accessibility increased obvious from the 4 to 5 rings. Okay, the conclusion. A comprehensive measurement model of the accessibility is constructed based on path distance, taking into account the quantity of the green space, landscape structure, and the growth status, and to realize the scientific and effective measurement of the urban green space accessibility. Okay, in our research group, we also use the POI to study the accessibility. Here, I just introduce one based on the road distance, the path distance. Okay. To sum up our research, and this morning's content, I think the urban green space remote sensing, from the perspective of the urban ecology research, can provide a new perspective and research tool to exploring the interaction mechanism of the human, people, urban green space, and buildings to support the scientific exploration proceedings of the urban system, urban surface, earth surface system. Okay, and from the it's very important to recognize the current situation of the urban development from the field of the space observation, and from the dimension, from the 2-dimension to 3-dimension, and it's a new field of the remote sensing application research. Also, we want to put forward the interdiscipline of the remote sensing, the city, the environment, the landscape ecology, and other disciplines. Okay, and it can support the landscaping, urban planning, and tomorrow morning I will introduce the urban heat island and urban management and so on. And I think to provide a new perspective for the exploring the urban heat, urban green, and urban building, very important to study it, to having the guiding significance. Okay, and from, I think to sum it, from the retrieval, urban vegetation retrieval, 2-dimension, and to the different multi-method measurement, and from the multi-scale perceiving, and to from the different ways evaluation and the configuration, it can be constitute system, I think, framework. And this Chinese book have been published, and the English version of the remote sensing of urban green space will be published this year, perhaps the next half of the year. And if you are interested in it, you can read the Chinese version or the English version, and it has become the selected as the textbook of the University of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. And I hope we live in the high urban green space and enjoy it. And the urban green space, I think, is a emerging urban ecological scientific problem solving, and it can solve the develop the perfect study and form the system of the urban green space high resolution remote sensing. I hope you can like it and benefit from it. It can, I hope it can offer the high important theoretical significance and practical value. Okay, it can be used in the different protection, the house construction, the landscape, and the forest, and in many aspects, also the carbon studies. Okay, that last, I want to thank to my team, many my PhD students or master students, and to contribute for all the things, and all of them to contribute and study and research it. Thanks to them, and thank you for your